Yes, we are at stage 6, paragraph page 459. And our last headword was grounds, a new work
Mhm.
type of lesson. Okay, so let's start with our revision. Ready?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. First question. Okay, here we go. Are you in the habit of missing trains and buses? Are you in the habit of missing trains and buses? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'm
I
in
try.
the habit
I'm in the
of
habit
missing
of
trains
missing
and
trains and
buses.
buses
Why? Why? Because I
because
always leave
I always
everything to the
leave
last
everything
minute
to the last
and
minute
then have to
and
hurry.
then have to hurry.
Very good. How long do you have to be away from home before you begin to miss your family and friends? How long do you have to be away from home before you begin to miss your family and friends? I have to be
I
away
have to
from
be
home
away from
for
home
about
for about 1 month
before I begin
before I begin
to miss my family
to
and
miss my
friends.
family and friends.
Very good. Did you miss the last lesson? Did you miss the last lesson? Yes or no?
No,
I
I,
didn't
I
miss
didn't. I
the
didn't
last
miss
lesson.
the last lesson.
Very good. Do you think that a union of all the countries in Europe will ever be possible? Do you think that a union of all the countries in Europe will ever be possible? Yes or no?
Yes,
I think that a
I think
union
that a
of all the
union of
countries
all
in
the
Europe
countries in
will
Europe
one day be
will one
possible.
day be possible.
Very good. What is a trade union? What is a trade union? A trade
That
union
a trade
is an
union is an
organization
organization
composed of workers
composed of
from
workers
a particular
from a
industry.
particular
It
industry.
protects
It
the
protects
workers
the
and fight
workers
to
and
improve
fight to
their
improve
pay and
their
conditions.
pay in condition.
Very good. Are you in favor of trade unions? Are you in favor of trade unions? Yes or no?
No,
I'm
I'm
not
not.
in favor
I'm not in
of
favor
trade
of a
unions.
trade union.
Very good. What can we use rope for? What can we use rope for? We can use
We
rope
can use rope
for climbing
for
mountains,
climbing mountains,
pulling things,
pulling
etc.
things, etc.
Very good. What did you see if you climbed up to the stairs to the top of your building? What did you see if you climbed the stairs to the top of your building? If I climb
If
the
I climb
stairs
the
to the
stairs
top of
to
my
the top
building,
of my
I'd see.
my building, I'll see other buildings.
Very good. Is it easy to climb to the top of the music industry and stay there? Is it easy to climb to the top of the music industry and stay there? No, it
No,
isn't
it
easy
isn't
to
easy
climb
to
to the top
climb to the top
of the
of
music
the
industry
music
and
industry
stay there.
and stay there.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
Very good. If you lost your keys, where would you look for them first? If you lost your keys, where would you look for them first? If I lost my
If I
keys,
lost my
I
key,
would look for
I
them
would look for
in
them
my pocket
in
first.
my pocket, in my
First.
pocket first.
Very good. Where do people go when they are looking for justice? Where do people go when they are looking for justice? People go to
People
the law
go
courts
to the
when they are
locals when
looking
they are looking
for justice.
for a justice.
Very good. Would you like the job of a judge? Would you like the job of a judge? Yes or no?
No, I wouldn't like
The
like a
job
job
of a
of
judge.
a judge.
Very good. How do we form verbs from certain adjectives and nouns? How do we form verbs from certain adjectives or nouns? We form verbs from certain,
we
we
form
form
verb
verbs from certain
from
adjectives
certain
or
adjectives
nouns.
to noun.
One more. We form verbs
We form
from
verb
certain
to the
adjectives
certain adjective
or nouns
for nouns
by adding the
by
letters
adding the
en.
letters en.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Dark, darken.
So dark, darken,
Short, shorten,
short, shorten,
etc.
etc.
What does the verb to darken mean? What does the verb to darken mean? The verb
The
to
verb
darken
to
means
darken
to
means
make darker
to make
or
darker
to get
or
darker.
to get darker.
Wait, if our trousers are too long, what must we do to them? If our trousers are too long, what must we do to them? If our
If
trousers
our
are too
trousers
long,
are too
we
long,
must shorten
we
them.
must shorten them.
Wait, do the days lengthen or shorten as we go towards summer? Do the days lengthen or shorten as we go towards summer? The days lengthen
The days
as
lengthen
we go.
as we
towards
go
summer?
towards summer.
Do you think sport can
The
strengthen the friendship between different countries? Do you think sport can strengthen the friendship between different countries? Yes or no?
yes, I
I
think
think sport can
sports
strengthen
can strengthen
the friendship
the
between
friendship
different
between
countries.
different countries.
Wait, how many syllables must an adjective or noun have in order for us to form a verb from it? How many syllables must an adjective or noun have in order for us to form a verb from it? An adjective
An
or noun
adjective for
must
noun
have only
must have
one
only
syllable
one syllable
in order for
in
us
order for
to
us
form a
to
verb
form
from it.
a verb from it.
Very good. Can we form verbs from all adjectives and nouns of one syllable? Can we form verbs from all adjectives and nouns of one syllable? No, we can't
No,
form
we
verbs
can't form
from
verbs
all
from
adjectives
all
and
adjectives
nouns
and
of
nouns
one syllable.
of one syllable.
Give me an example of a one syllable adjective from which we can't form a verb. Give me an example of a one syllable adjective from which we can't form a verb. An example
An
of
example
a one
of a
syllable
one
adjective
syllable
from
adjective
which
from
we
which
can't form a
we
verb
can't form a verb
is small.
is small.
Very good. Give me a sentence with the word obvious. Give me a sentence with the word obvious, please. It is obvious
It is
from what
obvious
he says
from what he
that
says
he is not
that he is
interested
not
in the
interested
job.
in the job.
Where do small children sometimes say they aren't tired when they obviously are? Do small children sometimes say they aren't tired when they obviously are? Yes, small
Yes,
children
small children
sometimes say
sometimes
they
say
aren't tired
they aren't
when
tired
they obviously
when they
are.
obviously are
Why? Why? Because
because
they don't
they
want
don't
to go to
want
bed,
to go to bed,
etc.
etc.
Very good. What is an ache? What is an ache? An ache
An
is a
ache is a
continuous
continuous
physical pain,
physical pain,
such as toothache,
such as toothache,
headache,
headache,
stomach ache,
stomach ache,
earache,
earache,
etc.
etc.
What might you get if you ate too much? What might you get if you ate too much? I might get
I might get
stomach ache
stomach
if
ache
I ate too much.
if I ate too much.
Very good. Where should you go if you get toothache? Where should you go if you get toothache? I should go
I should
to the
go to
dentist
the
if
dentist
I get
if I
toothache.
get toothache.
What kind of things give you a headache? What kind of things give you a headache? The kind of
The
things
kind of
that give
things
me a
that give
headache
me an headache
are noise,
are
too
noise,
much work,
too much
hot
work,
weather,
hot weather,
etc.
etc.
Very good. Who was the last person to rule your country? Who was the last person to rule your country?
Mr. Abe is
Was the last
was
person
the last person
to
of
rule my
to
country?
lord my country.
Very good. Okay, next. Do you understand the rules of football? Do you understand the rules of football? Yes or no?
No, I
I
don't
don't
understand
understand the rules
the
of football.
rules of football.
Very good. Do the rules of English grammar sometimes confuse you? Do the rules of English grammar sometimes confuse you? Yes, the
Yes,
rules
the
of
rules
English
of
grammar
English grammar
sometimes confuse me.
sometimes confuse me.
Very good. Do you find computers confusing? Do you find computers confusing? Yes or no?
Yes,
I find
I find
computers
computers
confusing.
confusing.
Would you be confused if I suddenly walked out of the room for no reason and didn't come back? Would you be confused if I suddenly walked out of the room for no reason and didn't come back? Yes, I'd
Yes,
be
I'd
confused
be
if
confused
you suddenly
if you
walked
suddenly
out of the
walk
room
out of the
for
room
no reason
for no reason
and didn't come back.
and didn't come back.
Very good. What can we say instead of should? What can we say instead of should? We can say ought
We can say ought
instead of should.
instead of should.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I ought to call
I ought to
my
call
dad
my
because
dad because
it's his birthday.
it's his birthday.
When we borrow money, ought we to pay it back as soon as possible? When we borrow money, ought we to pay it back as soon as possible? Yes. When
Yes,
we borrow
when we
money,
borrow money,
we ought to pay
we
it
ought
back
to pay
as
it
soon
back
as
as soon
possible.
as possible.
Very good. What ought we to do before crossing the road? What ought we to do before crossing the road? We ought to
We
look
ought to
both
look
ways
both ways
before crossing the road.
before crossing the road.
Do you think children ought to be allowed to go to bed whenever they want? Do you think children ought to be allowed to go to bed whenever they want? No, I don't
No,
think
I don't
children
think
ought
children
to be allowed
ought to be
to
allowed
go to bed
to go to bed
whenever they want.
whenever they want.
Very good. Is the surface of this table rough? Is the surface of this table rough? No. The
No,
surface
the
of that
surface of
table
the table
isn't rough.
isn't rough.
It's smooth.
It's smooth. It's smooth.
When you travel by boat, do you prefer the sea to be rough? When you travel by boat, do you prefer the sea to be rough? No.
No,
When I
when
travel by
I
boat,
travel by
I
boat,
don't prefer
I don't
the sea
prefer
to be
the
rough.
sea to be rough.
I prefer it
I
to be
prefer it
calm.
to be calm
Why? Why? Because a rough
because
sea
a rough sea
makes me feel
makes
seasick.
me feel sick. Makes
Seasick.
me feel sick.
Very good. Feel seasick.
Feel seasick.
Very good. If someone tells you that you're feeling rough, what do they mean? If someone tells you that they are feeling rough, what do they mean? If someone
If
tells me
someone tells me
that they are
that
feeling rough,
they're feeling rough,
they mean
they
they
mean
aren't
they
feeling
aren't
very
feeling good
well.
very well.
Very good. Roughly, how many people would you say there were in China? Roughly, how many people would you say there were in China? I'd say
I'd
there
say
were roughly
there were roughly 4 billion,
1 billion people
1 billion people
in China.
in China.
Do you like rough weather? Do you like rough weather? Yes or no?
Yes,
I like
I
rough
I
weather.
like rough weather.
Which do you think is the roughest sport one can play? Which do you think is the roughest sport one can play? I think
I think
rugby
rugby
is the
is
roughest
the
sport
roughest sport
one can play.
one can win the
One can play.
one can play.
Very good. What do we usually mean by the word ground? What do we usually mean by the word ground? By the word
By
ground,
the work
we
ground,
usually mean
we usually
the
mean
surface of the
the
land.
surface of the ground
Of the land.
of the land.
Very good. Are there any shops in your town built below the level of the ground? Are there any shops in your town built below the level of the ground? Yes or no?
No,
There
I,
aren't
there
any
aren't
shops
any
in
shops
my town
in my town
built
did
below
build beyond
the level of the
the
ground.
level of the ground.
Very good. When a table is not level, what must we do? When a table is not level, what must we do? When a table
When a
is not
table
level,
is not
we must put
level, we
something
must put something
under one of
under
its
one of
legs.
each legs.
Has your town got an underground railway? Has your town got an underground railway? Yes or no?
Yes, I
My
has
town's
my towns
got an
has got
underground
an underground
railway.
railway.
What's on the ground floor of your building? What's on the ground floor of your building? There's
There's
like what's on the ground floor?
there
Parking lot, shop, store, convenience store, or another
uh,
house? Another
another
apartment.
house.
There's another house.
There's another
It's not
house.
the house. There's another apartment
There's another
on
apartment
the ground floor
on the ground floor
of my building.
of my building.
Very good. Where's the biggest football ground in your town? Where's the biggest football ground in your town? The biggest
The
football
biggest
ground
football
in my
ground
town
in
is
my town is in my town
what stadium? Hokkaido
is
Stadium, Sapporo Stadium.
Sapporo Stadium.
Very good. Are the grounds of some famous old buildings in your country open to the public? Are the grounds of some famous old buildings in your country open to the public? Yes, the
Yes,
grounds
the
of
grounds
some
of
famous
some
old
famous
buildings
old
in my
buildings
country
in my
are
country
open to the
are
public.
open to the public.
Very good. Okay, so that's the end of our revision. Let's have
Okay,
new word. Okay, so repeat. Educate.
educate,
Educated.
educated.
Very good. Okay, listen. Educate is a verb. It means to teach. For example, parents start educating their children before they go to school. Educated is an adjective. It is having been well thought and learned a lot. For example, by an educated person, we mean somebody who has continued their studies to a high level. Let's practice. How can parents start educating their children before they go to school? How can parents start educating their children before they go to school? parents can start
Parents can start
educating their children
educating their children
before they go to
before
school
they go to
by
school
teaching them
by
to
teaching them
read and write,
to read and write,
etc.
etc.
Very good. What do we mean by an educated person? What do we mean by an educated person? By an
By
educated
an
person,
educated
we
person,
mean somebody
we mean
who
somebody
has continued
who has
their
continued
studies
their
to a
studies
high level.
to a high level,
Very good. Next, making a suggestion.
making a suggest,
Making a suggestion. Very good. Okay.
making a suggest.
Listen, here are four common ways in which we can make a suggestion. Number one, shall we go to the cinema? Shall we go? Using shall we go. Number two, let's go. Like, let's go to the cinema. Number three, how about? How about going to the cinema? And number four, why don't we? Like, why don't we go to the cinema? Okay, so let's practice. Tell me four common ways in which we can make a suggestion. Tell me four common ways in which we can make a suggestion, please. Four common ways
Four common
in
ways
which we
in
can
which
make
we can
a
make
suggestion
a
are:
suggestion are
shall we wait for
shall
him?
we make shall we wait for him?
Let's wait for him.
Let's wait for him.
How about
How
waiting for
about
him?
waiting for
Why
him?
don't we wait
Why
for
don't
him?
we wait for him?
Very good. Okay, next. Let's have the imperative. Okay,
Let's
repeat. The imperative.
the imperative
Very good. Okay, listen. Okay, so let's talk about the imperative. So, okay, repeat. Order.
order.
Very good. Okay, listen. Order is a verb. It means to instruct. So imperative are like ordering words. When we want to say something stronger than just a suggestion or a request, or even order someone to do something, we use the imperative. In English, the imperative is very easy. We just use the infinitive without to. For example, we say, go away. Okay. For a negative imperative, we put the word don't before the infinitive and we say, don't go away. Okay, let's practice. How do we make the imperative in English? How do we make the imperative in English? We make
We
the
make
imperative
the
in
imperative
English
in
by
English
using the
by using
infinitive
the infinitive
without to.
without t is without to.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Give me the book.
Give me the book.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Very good. Okay, next. How do we make a negative imperative? How do we make a negative imperative? We make
We make
a negative
a
imperative
negative
by
imperative
putting the
by
word
putting
don't
the word don't
before the infinitive.
before the infinitive.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Don't give him the
Don't
book.
give him the book.
Don't be late.
Don't believe.
Don't forget to
Don't
email
forget
me.
to email me.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Overeat.
Over,
Like
over,
overeat.
overeat,
Oversleep.
oversleep,
Overwork.
overwork,
Overcook.
overcook,
Undercook.
undercook,
Overpay.
overpay,
Underpay.
underpay.
Very good. Okay, listen. When we put the word over before a verb, it sometimes means to do something excessively. For example, overeat. So you eat over excessively. Oversleep, you sleep excessively longer. Let's practice. What does it sometimes mean when we put the word over before a verb? What does it sometimes mean when we put the word over before a verb? When we put
When
the
we
word
put
over
the word
before
over
a verb,
before a
it
vowel,
sometimes
it
means
sometimes
to do
means
something
to do something
excessively.
except excessively.
Very good. Okay, give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. Oversleep,
Oversleep,
overeat,
overeat,
etc.
etc.
Very good. What might happen if we overate? What might happen if we overate? If we overate,
If we
we might
overeat,
get
we
stomach
might
ache.
get stomach ache.
Well, have you ever been late for work? Have you ever been late for work because you've overslept? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've
I've
been late for work
I've been late for work
because I've
because
overslept.
I've overslept.
Our nurses and doctors in busy hospitals often overworked? Are nurses and doctors in busy hospitals often overworked? Yes.
Yes.
Nurses and
Nurses
doctors
and
in
doctors
busy
in
hospitals
busy
are
hospitals
often
are
overworked.
often overworked.
Very good. Okay, next listen. Some
Okay.
verbs like overcook and overpay form their opposite with the word under, like undercook and underpay. Let's practice. What are the contraries of overcook and overpay? What are the contraries of overcook and overpay? The
The
contraries
contraries
of
of
overcook
overcook
and
and
overpay
overpay
are undercook
are undercook
and
and
underpay.
underpay.
What do we mean when we say that somebody is underpaid for the work they do? What do we mean when we say that somebody is underpaid for the work they do? When we say
When we
that
said
somebody
that
is
somebody
underpaid
is
for the work
underpaid
they do,
for the work they
we
do,
mean they
we
are not
mean
paid
they
enough
not paid enough
for the work they do.
for the work they do.
Very good. Now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Very good. So our reading is at stage 5, paragraph page 344.
344.
44. And our
Okay.
last head word was past continuous. Okay, start with third question. What were you doing at this time?
Okay. Uh, what
What were you
oh,
doing?
what were what
344. Oh, past continuous.
past continue
Start at page
particular
345.
okay.
345, third question.
Okay, I can see.
Mhm,
Uh, what were you doing at this time last Sunday?
mhm.
Uh, I was studying